Oh, there we go. Yo, guys, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Booty-O's Boy Wrestling fan interview. Today I'm with my very special guest, Jeff Cannonball, the famous
Yes, sir.
deathmatch wrestler. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. I think this is the smoothest I've ever gotten Skype up and running, so I can't complain too much. It's been an okay day. I just got done taking a very long nap, as I do in these quarantine times.
Well, I'm from Massachusetts, and we're in phase one, so quarantine,
Okay.
but we're in phase one, and hopefully quarantine won't come back for a long time.
Let's hope. Let's hope. I think everybody hopes for that.
Now, have you been doing okay during this COVID-19 incident?
Yeah, I guess I really can't complain too much. I still work a day job, and the wife does too, so I miss wrestling and, obviously the side income that comes with that. But at the same time, though, I'm still kind of doing my thing and I'm still making money, so I can't complain too much. It's better than a lot of people are, so I'm lucky in that sense.
Now, how long have you been in the wrestling business?
10 years. Had my first match in March 2010, and so this past March, I actually got to wrestle not on the anniversary, but right before it, obviously. So it was real cool to at least get to do that before everything kind of shut off.
Yeah. Now, you're pretty much famous in the aspect of deathmatch wrestling. That's your style. And I'm wearing a Logan Black t-shirt. I don't know if you can tell.
There we go.
And I've watched the H2O wrestling
Sure.
promotion between you and Logan Black, and it was pretty insane. There's a lot of stuff involved in that match. One thing that I do remember is it was like styrofoam but with forks
Mhm.
on it.
Yep.
And
H2O does that a lot.
now you were going to get stabbed in the stomach with those forks, but you ended up reversing it and flipping it. And did it feel good to reverse it and not stabs?
Yeah, I would say that definitely felt good. I have been on the receiving end of those fork boards plenty of times, so being able to be smart enough finally to not just take it and actually be able to flip it over in time so somebody else gets to feel it. That's a nice thing. I mean, granted, throughout that match, my hands were stabbed into thumbtacks. I'm pretty sure I was. He gave me his finish onto, I think, Legos and cut soda cans. So I may have escaped the forks, but there was plenty of other things in there that still got me and definitely left me a little worse for wear after that one.
Now, speaking of deathmatch wrestling, I was going to save this until like the last little bit of this interview, but I just want to talk about it because it's on. It's
Okay.
Tournament of Death, 2017. You took a Kenzang to the top of
Yep.
your head. And I watched the documentary on it, and they had to pull it out, and you just sat there really cool and relaxed, like you didn't flinch it out. How is that possible? Because I think a lot of people would have.
In my head, I was panicking, and I think I did everything I could to not show that because I knew that Vice, the documentary people from Vice, they were filming it, and I think there were other cameras there, but that's the only footage I ever saw. But knowing that everybody was filming, I kind of just didn't want to have like panic all on camera, so I tried to just kind of close my eyes and wait for it to be over. I also remember after they did because in that documentary they showed for like 30 seconds or so, maybe a little bit more, but it was longer than that. There was a lot of tries they didn't show in there. And I remember after the first try, thinking like, oh, I'm gonna have to go to the hospital and explain why I have this dumb chunk of metal right in the middle of my head. And I really didn't want to do that, so I was just kind of closing my eyes and really hoping that we wouldn't go that far. But yeah, everybody always says I looked calm, and I just kind of took it very well, which I guess I did on the outside, but inside it was not the same. I was definitely a little panicked that this was going to cost me money, make me go to a hospital, pay some bills for something that was a silly decision in hindsight, even though I think 5 million something people, 5.1 or 2 million people have seen that clip now, so it's pretty crazy.
You're pretty famous from that, though, right?
I don't know if I'm famous. People have seen it though. I've gotten recognized for it before once or twice. Um, but I would hope that fame would come with more money than it left me with. I didn't get any money out of that footage that got seen, just the initial show.
Now, why are you a deathmatch wrestler / hardcore wrestler?
Pretty much ever since I was young, I loved wrestling, and I always liked the more high energy side of it. Like when I was a very little kid, I was all about Ultimate Warrior because he was just everything a wrestler in my mind at the time was, turned up to 11, with the bright colors, the loud metal music, the screaming, and everything. And then as I got older, I found ECW, and right off the bat, New Jack was one of my favorites because I thought he was the most insane person they had. And then kind of keep going, I found Japanese wrestling, and that's where I found death matches for the first time. So I always liked wrestling that was just much more intense and a little bit more over the top. So I feel like death matches were just kind of that natural endpoint for me. When I started wrestling, I didn't do death matches right off the bat. I wrestled for 3 years before I did my first one, and then another like 2 years after that before I did any more. But it always was in the back of my mind. It always was something I wanted to do, just because I was such a fan of the deathmatch style that I knew that's where I wanted to end up at some point. And so like I still enjoy regular wrestling, and I still do that probably more often. But obviously the deathmatch stuff is what people have come to know me for. It's what people see. It's become the bread and butter, as the cliche goes, and I'm not complaining about that either. So
Now, besides the King's A in the middle of your head, what are the other worst incidents that you have gone through in death?
That was the most painful for sure. There was one time, Lord of Anarchy tournament for VOW. I forget what year it was, but the first round was me and G Raver, and I had a barbed wire board laid on top of me, and he did a swanton bomb onto it, and it ripped open underneath my eye to the point where I had a wound, like a giant deep wound underneath my eye that needed 13 stitches. And just the fact that it was so close to my eye and it was so disgustingly deep. And I put pictures of that online all the time, like some kind of weird badge of honor. But they stitched it up, and it actually didn't leave much of a scar at all. I often forget which eye it was underneath, but that was probably the scariest one, just because it was so close to where my actual eyeball was, and that definitely would have stopped me from probably ever wrestling again.
Huh. Have you ever kept like souvenirs of the stuff that has either cut your body open or left scars?
I definitely used to. I don't think I have much anymore. I kept that Kenzan that came out of my head, but I ended up selling it to somebody, actually from somebody up your way. So I don't have that anymore. I won the second On Point Wrestling Survival of the Sickest tournament. I kept that trophy, and a fan who's now a photographer over in New Jersey, he actually made me a cool little shadow box with, we use grill brushes with real sharp tips in them. He actually put one of those in a shadow box for me. So that's actually probably the only souvenir I really still have besides for the trophy, but that's really cool because it's from the day I won my first and so far only tournament in deathmatch wrestling or any wrestling. So that's the souvenir pretty much for me.
Now, deathmatch wrestling is probably the most deadliest because it has death in the word. Style of wrestling. When would you kind of stop deathmatch wrestling? What's the overall goal? How many years do you want to go?
I have no plans. Pretty much until as long as my body can still do it. My arm and my back are all scarred up. I actually have a pretty clean forehead for somebody who's been doing it for so long. But yeah, no real intentions to stop, because I think if you do, it's just like any wrestling. If you do it smart, you can kind of keep doing it as long as possible. It's a little bit not safer, but there's definitely ways to do it where you can kind of extend the career, just like there's ways to do that with regular wrestling. So I think that would be my plan, honestly, is just to kind of run with it as long as I can. One of my favorite guys was Mr. Pogo from Japan, and he wrestled well into his 40s and 50s, and he was part of why I got into deathmatch wrestling. So he kind of took any idea of a limit and kind of threw that away. But so I have no real plans on when to stop. No end goal.
What are some of the places that you have traveled in wrestling before, like outside of the United States?
Outside, I've only actually been to Canada. Besides for the United States, the only other country I've wrestled in was Canada. I've done a couple shows for C4 up there, and then I did a couple shows for interspecies wrestling in Canada. But other than that, I've never been to Mexico or anything like that. That would be a cool goal to have. But no, as of right now, it's just been the United States where I've been. I've wrestled in California and Florida, and obviously up to Maine. So I've hit pretty much a lot of the big states and been as far as I can be from where I live in America. So next step really is just try another country.
Now, this is a 3-part answer.
Okay.
Who was your toughest male opponent, female opponent, and deathmatch opponent that you have had?
Oh man. Just because I'll start with the female one, just because she lives in the same house as me. I will say Tara Calloway, who I ended up marrying because got so sick of her beating the crap out of me. We have beat the hell out of each other in multiple states. She's almost broken my nose. I've almost broken her pretty much everything. Yeah, we've definitely gone to war. We've used things like cinder blocks and cactuses and barbed wire bats. We've used the fork boards, all sorts of things like that on each other. Plus, we've had regular matches that just were just as intense and just as brutal. So that would be number one for that one. As far as deathmatch goes, I'd probably have to say G-Raver, just because every time I wrestle G-Raver, we kind of just see how far we could push everything to the point where I've read reviews of matches afterwards between he and I where people say it was uncomfortable because of what we do to each other. But it's also just because I think G-Raver and we get along so well that when we get together, things just start flowing and the ideas just start coming. And it's not always the best for our own mental health and not only the best for our physical safety because we just trust each other. So it'll be, hey, I want to do this to you. And then with no question, I'll just agree to it or he'll agree to it. So he's my toughest one because he's put tattoo needles in my head more times than almost anybody. He did my palm once. I threw a cinder block at his head once. So we've tried to actually maim each other, which is weird. Two very good friends. And then as far as just a normal opponent, one of the first ones that comes to mind, I'll probably say is Monster Mac, Steve Mack. He's another one. He's been wrestling for probably close to 20 years, and anytime I wrestled him, he really does push me. He's got a lariat like nobody else, so you kind of got to watch your neck around him. But he's got to be up there. If not on the spot, he's my pick. But if not him, he's got to be top 3 easily.
Now, like I said earlier, there's many different types of styles of wrestling. Like, I want to be a wrestler when I have the chance. And like you, I definitely like deathmatch wrestling. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the blood or just the accessories that you can use. Barbed wire and thumbtacks are really cool to me. My family thinks that I'm crazy for doing that. They just do regular wrestling. What about you, your family? Do they like deathmatch wrestling or they not?
Not at all. Not at all. They've been to plenty of my regular matches. They've definitely seen me use thumbtacks before, but no, they go to the normal shows. They don't go to those shows so much. Neither of them are huge fans of the style, which I can't blame them. I don't think anybody's parents want to see their kid purposely go through that much what is basically torture. They don't want to watch that willingly, so I can't blame them. I do remember after some tournament, I forget which one, and I don't remember if I was living with my parents at the time or if this was I just happened to be there. But pretty much I got out of the shower and we noticed there was a large chunk of glass still stuck in my back from the weekend prior. And my sister is an EMT, so that should have been no problem. Just take it out and keep moving. She wouldn't go near it. She didn't like the idea that it was in her brother. She didn't like that it was me. So I had to make the, at the time, girlfriend, now wife, pull it out of me herself, even though we had an EMT in the family who just absolutely refused. It was too far for her. But at the same time, her and my other sister actually went to Tournament of Death the first time I was in it. I don't remember if they went to any of the other ones. And my brothers see me do all sorts of dumb death match stuff, so they'll go, but I don't think it's their top choice.
Now, you said that you were very captivated by ECW, the
Yep.
hardcore. Is there anyone that you would want to have a match with from ECW? Dream match?
Honestly, all the top ones that I would want to, I've had a match with already. I don't know if there's anybody I missed. I mean, not to like just go on a name dropping spree, but I've wrestled Dreamer, Shane Douglas, New Jack, Balls Mahoney, Rhino, Devon Dudley. I know there's more. Al Snow was one. A few more. So I don't know who's left. I mean, my favorites when I was watching it were pretty much New Jack and Tommy Dreamer, and I wrestled both of them. So, and I got to wrestle Balls Mahoney before he passed away, which he was another big one. I never got to wrestle Axel Rotten, which would have been cool. And I never got to wrestle Ian Rotten, which I know he still kind of comes out once in a while, but it's very, very rare. So that would definitely be a cool one too. But I checked off a lot of those names on that list. I've been very fortunate for that.
Have you ever been to the ECW arena yet, or is that a goal
not to wrestle, but I years ago, before I was wrestling, I would go to CZW as a fan every month, and that's when they were running out of the ECW arena. So I was in the crowd pretty much every month. If you watch a lot of those shows from like probably 2007 to 2000, even like 11, 12-ish, you probably can find me in the second row in a crowd somewhere.
A couple months ago at Blitzkrieg Pro, you were advertised to face Joey Ryan.
Yep.
And what was that like? Was that a good match or?
I love the match. I've met Joey a handful of times. Tara is old friends with him because she used to live out in California. So we were familiar with each other. We knew each other, but that was our first time in ring together. It's Joey Ryan, so you know what to expect. You know that he's the star of the show, and you're just kind of the supporting cast, which was fine by me because I still got all those eyes on me too, even though obviously he's going to be the draw. But it was a lot of fun to do that, and I got to experience the power of the penis, which is something that not everybody can say they did. So I got to see just how strong it really was, and it did take me over.
Now, another clip that I saw you in was Ethan Page's vlog that he does. It was like last year in April. And
Okay.
It was standing there during the national anthem, and you got caught talking. Thoughts on that?
Oh, wow. I remember this. I didn't know it was on film somewhere, though.
Oh, yeah. If you want, I can send you the link because I know exactly what episode.
But yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was just like you were in the corner talking to someone, and then Ethan Page goes, "Cannonball, respect America."
Yeah, I didn't know that was on film somewhere at all. I just remember him doing that, and I believe I just immediately, well, wait a minute, you're Canadian, and then we both kind of just kept talking. Yeah, I didn't know that was on film. You caught me off guard with that. I think I was match 1 or 2 that day, so I think I was still kind of getting my match together while the national anthem played, and I got called out.
Yep.
I forgot about that.
I do my research, man. I do my research.
That's a deep dive.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said that you won you only won one tournament in your career. Mm-hmm. Have you won any hardcore championships or heavyweight championships before besides the tournament?
I've won a couple titles. I think not too many. UWA Elite is a small company up by us. Excuse me. I was their tag team champion. I think I'm still the longest reigning tag team champion. I'm not sure if I've been beaten for that title or for that record, I should say. I've been the H2O heavyweight champion twice. I am the current H2O tag team champions with my partner Mitch. And let's see, what else? Interspecies Wrestling Falls Count Everywhere champion. I'm currently that one as well, which I got to be a deathmatch legend in Sexy Eddie. We got to have a match for that title, so that was a cool one to win. But I think that might have been it. I haven't won too many. I'm okay being the freak show on the show that just kind of does the brawl and it keeps people happy.
Now, in Japan, like we talked about already, and I hate going back, but just trying to keep this conversation going. They have a lot of crazy death matches, like the light tubes. Like America does it too. The light tubes around the ring. And I also watched a video one time where there was like electricity in like a fish tank thing.
Okay.
Would you ever do one of those matches before? It's like you have to electrocute your opponent, not to death, but no one's died yet.
No. Yeah, I would probably give it a try if it was creative enough and it came by me. I don't think I'd say no. For Tournament of Death, I think 16. I want to say it's 2018, but it was number 16. Me and Connor Claxton wanted to do a match with tasers and things like that. We got told no, but that's probably the closest I've ever come to anything like that. But we got shot down on that one where we had ideas where there'd be a bunch of electric things and like bug zappers and tasers and things. But we were told no. We were told we can't do that. So I guess I wouldn't say no to more electricity for some dumb reason.
Like you did just say bug zappers. I've done that before. I never got electrocuted, so you might have to go get like a custom made one or something.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm also not rushing into it anytime soon. But if it were floated my way, I don't think it would be an automatic no.
Now, what have you ever like created your own death match with someone? Like you just said, Connor Claxton. What are some matches that you have created that you came up with death match stipulations?
I don't know if I've created too much. I definitely think, and I actually posted this online as a joke, but it's definitely true. I think I've used a bed of nails more than anybody. You don't see too many people use beds of nails. I can think of off the top of my head 4 times that I've used them, and there's probably been even more than I can think of. So I would say I think I helped kind of bring that into more light, because I remember even at GCW for a long time they had a bed of nails just hanging out and nobody would ever use it. And then I finally got them to let me use it one day in a match with G-Raver as well, actually. So I think bed of nails has definitely become one of my calling cards, which is a silly thing to get to admit. And then cinder blocks, I've done a whole lot with cinder blocks where I know I wasn't the first, but I definitely think I've put them to use more than most people would. And again, that doesn't necessarily speak to my decision-making skills, but this is the life I live for some dumb reason.
The life of Jeff Cannonball.
There you go.
Now, I just had something to say and then I completely forgot it.
It's probably something about how dumb I am in all my decision making.
No, it definitely wasn't. Oh, I found it again. This one has nothing to do with death and wrestling.
Okay.
You said earlier that you just woke up from a nap and you've been napping in quarantine. Besides napping, what else have you been doing?
A lot actually to fill time before wrestling, and a little bit when I first started wrestling. I was playing in bands and playing music a lot, and I really kind of put that on the back burner for wrestling. I really haven't been doing much of it at all, or I really haven't done much of it at all for probably the past 7 years. But with quarantine, I've picked up the bass and the guitar a little bit more. And I bought this thing it's called an interface that you plug into your computer and you can record all sorts of things. So actually, friends of mine from other states and I have been kind of writing songs by just sending each other back and forth ideas and different recordings and then putting them together. So I've been doing a lot of music, which is not the most wrestling thing to say. I don't know if that's what you were looking for on a wrestling podcast, but Yeah, it's been a lot of recording music with friends and just having a really good time kind of getting back to that because it's been so long since I've done anything like that. That's been honestly probably number one. And then a lot of people are doing podcasts now, as I'm sure you could tell. So I've been doing a lot of those with people, but not my own. I'm not that at that point yet. I probably will be if this keeps going.
Um, what has a lot of people eat during quarantine? What has your diet been like during quarantine?
Garbage, pretty much straight garbage. Um, we've been eating out way too much, to be honest.
Same.
Um, yeah, which probably shouldn't be doing realistically. Probably don't want a bunch of people touching food, but at the same time, it is what it is. So it's been a lot of that, a lot of calling in orders and Taco Bell and different local Mexican places and stuff. So on one hand, I like to be kind of happy that I've helped support some like local restaurants and local businesses. But on the other hand, I probably should be making food a little bit more for myself.
Um, have you been doing anything to stay in shape for when wrestling does come back?
Not
Um,
at all. Not at all. I keep saying I will, but no. I actually was just saying yesterday to the wife, there's a ring not too far from me that nobody's using right now. I had like the idea to just kind of go run around a little bit and just kind of get kind of used to it again. Because I do dread coming back and I feel like that first bump is gonna suck. I feel like I'm going to blow up real quick, but I think that's an idea that I would probably start doing soon. Is just kind of going to run around a ring and do some bumps and rolls and things like that, just to kind of try to get back and get used to it again because it's been since March 11th, 12th, 13th. One of those was the last time I wrestled, so it's been the longest time in 10 years. So it is something I'd like to get back to it at least. Make sure I can still move a little bit.
Well, this has been fun. Is there anything that you would like to promote on this interview?
I mean, right now there's no shows to really promote at all. I am on Instagram and Twitter at Jeff Cannonball, all one word. Instagram is probably the one I use the most. I'm not very good at Twitter. Facebook, you can find me under my real name. It's Jeff Guerrero. It was Jeff Cannonball, and then Facebook realized that Cannonball name was not a real name because they're so smart and clever that they were able to suss me out. So if you find me there, by all means, feel free to add me. I would say honestly, just support H2O, Blitzkrieg Pro, Interspecies Wrestling, Dropkick Depression. Those are the home companies. Those are the companies that I kind of will. I'll be right back to as soon as everything opens up again. But I would say, yeah, just follow me online because once I know anything, I will put it there. Especially, obviously, when we first go back to everything, it'll be an exciting moment. So I'm sure I'll be all over the internet with that. Also on Instagram, I constantly post pictures of a three-legged cat that keeps me sane. And I'm a nerd who plays with a miniature skateboard. So you can follow me on Instagram to see me do kick flips and things like that with my hands.
Oh, like
yeah, like a fancy version of a tech deck, like one that's made out of wood and things like that. So that I do a lot of that, and I post that to Instagram every day. And a lot of people you would not expect will send me messages impressed because it's almost pathetic how good I am with this little dumb toy.
maybe soon when wrestling comes back, you can practice on a real skateboard and go to the ring like
that. There was a tournament of death. I did an ollie in the ring on a real skateboard because people didn't think I could do it. But that's about as far as I went. If you watch, there's a documentary out. I want to say it's hardwaythemovie.com. I could be wrong. If you just search on not YouTube, Facebook for Hardway the documentary, you'll find it. It's a cool deathmatch documentary. It's got everybody you would want in it. But if you watch that, the guy filmed me using the little fingerboard, so you could see it in there, which is the dumbest thing. But at the same time, I'm a nerd, so it's part of me, and I think it's funny that he included that with film of me getting staple gunned and smashed with glass and things like that. Is a weird picture of me just playing with a toy.
You gotta keep yourself busy though.
Exactly. It's good to do before the shows when you're at the building, just kind of getting bored and need to kill some time. So it works for that.
Do you have anything that you would like to ask me, or?
I mean, you said you went. How long have you been going to Blitzkrieg Pro?
My first show was, I think it was last year, as far as I
Okay,
remember. It was last year in like June.
nice. Were you there by the time that I wrestled Jeremy Leary? We had a last man standing match.
I don't think so. I seen it
Okay.
on YouTube though. I watched it before.
I would say that was probably accidentally one of the bloodier matches that Blitzkrieg ever had because he got hit with a ladder right here and it split him, or no, it was on the outside of his eye and it split him wide open. So he was bleeding all over the place, and that was definitely something I don't think anybody expected to happen. Where he ended up getting stitched at the building after the show, which was fun to watch.
Well, anyway, man, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you follow him on all social medias, especially watch those videos with the skateboard, because I'm gonna go look those up right now.
Most important part.
Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, and see you in the next interview.